got some very special guests who are joining me in the studio. They're a band who have been releasing critically acclaimed, well-loved music for over a couple of decades now. They just played a bunch of showcases at South by Southwest Festival in their hometown of Austin, Texas, and they're in Australia playing some shows before they hit up Europe and the rest of the US. The band is Spoon, and they've just released album number 9, Hot Thoughts, on Matador. And I'm joined by Britt Daniel, by Jim Eno and Alex Fischer from the band. We just had a listen to the title track from the album Hot Thoughts, which introduced these guys. Thanks for coming into FBI today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It's good to be back here.
It's great to have you here. Now, you've just been at South by Southwest Festival. That was literally, a week or two ago?
Well, it was last week. Let's see, what's today?
Last week.
Friday?
Today's Friday?
No, Thursday.
Today's Thursday?
What day is it?
Can you tell us what day it is?
I think it's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, so we were playing it a week ago right now.
And you were there. It sounds like a crazy time. Each year Australia sends a handful of bands over, but from what I imagine, it's this tumultuous sort of showcase where people play day and night over about 6 or 7 days.
Right, yeah, it's chaos.
And you guys had a showcase there over a few nights.
Well, we prefer not to call it a showcase, but
what was it?
it was a show. It was a gig. We played 3 gigs. We had a residency there. Well, actually, we played 8 times, but we had the cool thing we did was we had 3 gigs in one venue. This place, this sort of legendary place that used to be called Emo's, that has now gone away.
And you guys have a soft spot for that venue. You've played there before?
Yeah, we played. It was. I think it first opened in '92, and it was sort of one of the, if not the underground Austin venue for many, many years. And the space is still there. It just there's not a club there anymore except for during South by Southwest. The space is still just sits empty. It's kind of a shame.
So you just had to give it a vacuum and set up and play.
Yeah.
How many times has Spoon performed at South by Southwest now? Because I understand you're in the area.
I don't know.
Let's count. Most years?
Yeah, we're in the area.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first time we, they say that that dreams don't come true, but we did get sort of discovered at South by Southwest by Gerard Cosley from Matador. It was a long, long time ago, but he happened into our show at a drag queen bar that was an anti-South by Southwest show. He couldn't get into the Johnny Cash show that was happening at Emo's, and walked up the street, and I think he just liked drag bars, right?
I think so,
yeah.
So he didn't realize who was
he didn't know who was playing,
and
and we were playing, and he liked it. And the next year he had us play at the Matador show, and then the next year we were signed to Matador. It was kind of cool.
Signed at South by Southwest.
Yeah.
That's the dream of a lot of young bands that get out there to perform.
Yeah.
So
I think the secret
93,
is play
94.
anti-South by Southwest
Yeah, exactly.
shows.
Just around the corner. But this week you were back, and it was the release week for Hot Thoughts.
Right.
Was this the first time that you guys were playing songs off the new album?
Not the very first time, but it's pretty close. We'd only played 3 shows, I think, before that. Yeah, so it is pretty new.
It is new. I had my first listen, and one of my initial thoughts was there's less guitars here. I didn't hear much acoustic guitar in Hot Thoughts.
No acoustic.
There's been sort of the E word, electronic's been thrown around a little bit. How do you feel about Hot Thoughts being described as Spoon's foray into electronic music?
Well, I mean, other than the drums, it's always been electronic music.
Yeah.
Guitar amps, bass amps.
It's all plugged in.
Yeah, but I think I know what they're talking about. It is more of a we lean a bit heavier on keyboards on this one, but it's not like a synth pop record, but it's still a rock and roll record. Just doesn't have a lot of guitars on it.
And were there any particular challenges bringing this one from or out of the studio onto the stage that you didn't experience on previous releases?
The same old challenges. I mean,
what are they?
Well, there's a lot of parts on a record, and this is something that it seems like just about every time that we finish a record and I'm going through the process of figuring out how we're going to play the songs, and my mom or my stepfather will say, well, I don't get it. Well, why don't you just go play them just the same way you did when you were in the studio? And I'm like, well, it was a sort of different process. There's this thing called multi-tracking where you don't do everything at once. And that as soon as I say multi-tracking, they start, these cartoons start spinning in their head, and they're not able to focus. But yeah, it's always a challenge just because there's so many. I don't know. We kind of write. We come into the studio with the songs somewhat written, but then we're kind of putting together how we're going to present the songs in the studio, and that takes place over a long period of time. And then you got to sort out how can we do it all at once, you know.
And so how long do you sort of train for presenting?
Well, we were working up a new member this time, so it sort of added a kink into everything.
And we added some equipment.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the new guy? So Spoon's recently expanded.
Yeah, we added this guy named Gerardo. He's somebody that Jim's known for a while. Jim's recorded him. He's a Mexican citizen who just got his U.S. citizenship just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
He got it, like last fall or something?
Yeah, and he was pushing it through because
he knew
that if Trump got elected, there could be problems.
Right.
So he's a U.S. citizen now.
Yeah.
And what does
Smart man.
What does the extra member allow Spoon to be able to achieve?
It allows me to not have to play guitar sometimes, so I can get out there and what would you guys call it?
Front.
I get out there in front.
And then Alex also plays guitar and keys, and Gerardo plays guitar and keys. So these
you just
two
swap
guys
it up, dude.
Cover a lot.
Now, Alex Fischer, you've been with Spoon for a couple of albums now. You joined about 2013.
This is number 2.
Number 2.
Big 2.
Terrible twos.
Terrible twos.
3 terrible twos.
Look, we actually came into the chat having a listen to the title track from the album, Hot Thoughts, before we started our discussion. You've put it right at the top of the record, so
right.
It's sort of starts with the title track. Is that kind of do you really feel that one sets the pace for the rest of the album?
Yeah, I do. And we've never done that before, but as we were figuring out the sequence and figuring out the title, we had a number of titles that we could have used, and I started thinking about all those great Prince records in the 80s where it was sort of like that. It was like Dirty Mind. Bam. Start the album out with Dirty Mind. It's the first single on the album, and it sort of sets the pace. It sort of describes what the album's all about. And I don't know. I like that vibe, and it's a good song for us. I don't know what. It's a pop song, right? But it's got some darkness in it.
We should have a listen to another one.
Yeah, let's do that.
We've chatted for a while now. I always like to let my guests choose what you'd like to play. So I don't know, what's a good one to follow up from Hot Thoughts?
What kind of song do you want to hear?
Oh, well,
what are you in the mood for?
What I want to get into after the song is the fact that this album's kind of got there's a sexual energy to it. So what would possibly be a lead-in to a chat about that?
I don't know, probably First Caress or Can I Sit Next to You? What do you guys say?
I'll vote.
Which one's more sexy?
I would say Can I Sit Next to You?
Okay, let's get this on. I've got Spoon.
Jim has spoken.
In the studio with me on FBI Mornings. Can I sit next to you? More chats after this.
Can I sit next to you? Can you sit next to me?
Now I'm seated opposite Britt Daniel and Jim Eno and Alex Fischer from Spoon. And what we wanted to sort of crack open after listening to that tune was this kind of like sexual energy that radiates a little bit from this album. I know that I'm not the first person to notice it. It's been brought up another couple of times with chats with you, Britt. And I was just wondering, was your aim to evoke this kind of feeling from people when they listen to it? Was that a kind of feeling that you put into it?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I knew I had the title Hot Thoughts, and that's
no beating around the bush there.
Right, yeah. So to speak. And I knew what that's something everybody can relate to. I think most people. I'm not sure about Jim, but everybody else can relate to it.
Dude, I'm the sexpert.
Actually, Jim is the resident sexpert. Sorry, I was just taking the piss.
We'll open the phone lines shortly. People can pitch their questions to Jim.
Yeah.
So this sexual sort of thing that you've got going on with this particular album, did this coincide with picking up synthesizers more so than drums to really drive that across, or?
I don't know. That might be a coincidence. It might be an unforced error. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like that last song. Actually, as we're listening to it, I'm thinking it's more about the feel of that song than any particular. There's not any like overt sexual lyrics on there.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's more of a.
It's just a
feel
swagger
thing.
of it, isn't it?
It's a swagger. Yeah.
Spoon, tell me about your recent kind of accidental mix-up with the vaporwave movement. I understand that. I think it was in a Stereo Gum interview. You were talking about genres. You called yourself Vapewave, but
Well,
now
it
you're
was-
being sent vaporwave artwork.
Yeah, we are. That's true.
Yeah.
You've done your homework. Yeah, I'm not sure how that came up. We were trying to come up with a new term, because people are always trying to say, "So what? Tell us what your music sounds like," you know. And I don't like to describe my own music, so I don't know. We were just saying we got to come up with some new term, and then we started throwing terms around. Is that how it happened?
Yeah, we were just talking about how there's all these random
Wave.
genres, wave
Something wave.
genres.
And vaporwave's a tricky one.
Well, it turns out it really is a thing.
Yeah.
But we thought it was. We thought that we were making something up, but there is a thing
Vapewave.
called there is a thing called vaporwave and vapewave, and they have a certain type of art that's associated with it, and so we started getting spoon-themed vapewave art.
So people are making it about you.
Yeah.
And sending it to you. That's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Vaporwave is usually kind of like a slowed down sort of 80s or 90s pop with some really kind of kitsch, cartoony kind of, or computer-generated images that go with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a future Spoon film clip will
Right.
be vaporwave.
Maybe we need to do our vaporwave album next.
That's next, yeah.
So, guys, the creative process for
Jim,
Hot
please.
Thoughts began. Jim's drawing. He's making a bit of noise in the
Noisily.
background. That's okay. So, the creative process for Hot Thoughts began during the last touring cycle. Am I right?
Yeah, I really started writing the songs here. Well, in Melbourne, we had some shows coming up in February of 2015, and I went. So I had basically I looked at it like I had a free plane ticket to Australia, and came down here about a month early and did a lot of writing, and that's where a lot of the songs got their start.
And I understand that when you first came to Melbourne, you hung out kind of like by yourself for a little while before
Yeah.
the rest of the band
Yeah,
joined
yeah,
you.
right, exactly.
So being immersed in a city that you didn't know sort of terribly well, is there a bit of that sentiment that's gone into the record? Like, was it sort of shaped by your location at the time of writing?
I'd say so. You know, I mean, for one thing, I was excited about being in this place that, you know, this is my 6th or 7th time to Australia, but it seems like every time we come through, we rarely stay very long in Melbourne, and so I wanted to go to Melbourne and experience it a little bit more. And so I was real excited to be there, and also I was a bit lonely. So both of those things probably made their way onto the record, both
Some
those feelings.
hot thoughts you may have had
Right.
in
Hot,
Melbourne.
lonely thoughts.
Look, so you took all this back home. I understand it was recorded in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about the recording process.
We record with this guy, Dave Fridman, who's a amazing producer, and he has a studio that's in about an hour and a half outside of Buffalo, New York, in the woods, sort of in the middle of nowhere. Well, exactly in the middle of nowhere. And we'd record there for a week or two, then we'd go down to Austin, record for a week or two. I'd go out to LA and write for a bit, then we just keep doing that circle all the last year.
What's the town in the middle of Australia?
Alice Springs.
Yeah, it's like being there for a while.
Well, I bet Alice Springs has a coffee shop, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Alice Springs is
maybe an
is
hour
fairly
outside of
set up.
Alice.
Yeah, if you're an hour,
An
pick a
hour
random
outside of
direction.
Alice.
Yeah,
in
that's
any
like
particular
being
direction's
in. Yeah,
quiet.
if there was a studio there, that's sort of what's.
That's where you were.
And it's not our favorite place to be because we like being in the thick of things. But Dave Fridman is so good. He doesn't travel, but he's so good that everybody just comes to him. You know, people come from Australia to work with him.
Britt, Daniel, we're running out of time.
Okay.
Jim Eno and Alex Fischer, it's great to have you in. But one last thing I just wanted to pick your brains about is you described as a goal for the album was to have it sound futuristic. I was just wondering if you could explain this goal and whether or not you think you came close to achieving it.
Yeah, I think so. we that was something we kind of realized happened late in the process, or in hindsight, really. But as we were starting the record, there was a song called "Own Your Mistake" that I wrote, and I spent a lot of time on, and it was an acoustic ballad, and I worked quite a bit on the lyrics and the harmonies and all this, making a good demo. And we worked on it for a bit, and then I was just like, guys, do we really want to have an acoustic ballad on this record? I don't know if that's the vibe we want to go for. And so we just threw it away. And there was another song that was acoustic. We transformed it so that it just, that felt a little too earthy and old-fashioned and rustic, you know? So we wanted to go off in a new space, you know?
And do you think that this new space is something that you will pursue for... I mean, I understand if your previous work ethic is anything to go by, you're already starting to think about crafting new songs, right? You're on tour for the album. Is there more of this to come from Spoon?
I think so. I mean, it's either that or else we start... I had this other idea is that we start just hiring other people to make records for us. And we call it YDI. You know, you've heard of DIY, right? You do it.
Who will you get to make
We'll
a
call it
record
You
for
Do It.
you?
You.
Just whoever's cheaper, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, cheap.
I mean, I'm sort of serious about this, guys. I've kind of had it. I don't know if I can't do it anymore. You guys know how much it took out of me to make this record, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Can't we just hire
albums.
someone to do it?
You should hire someone and then just be like, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no.
Yeah,
and
then
that's all you would have
it's
to
still
do.
it's still a part of me that way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
I just don't want to have to fucking. I mean, I just I can't do it. Can't do it anymore.
Well, hey, on that note, you guys are performing the album live
Yeah.
tonight at the Metro Theatre. That is your last stop in Sydney. A few people squeezed into Red Eye Records and saw you do sort of... That must have been a pared back.
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a two-piece.
Which
Yeah.
Yeah.
is really good.
And then
Thanks.
It is. You guys,
tonight's all or nothing.
different looks of the songs. It's
Tonight 5-piece. Yeah.
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 The full thing.
Yeah.
The whole hog. All right. Well, there are still some tickets for sale if you want to head to metrotheatre.com.au. Spoon will be playing, I'd imagine, a fair bit of material from Hot Thoughts and
Yeah, we'll
some
do
of your other stuff.
4 or 5 from the new record, and then a lot of the ones from the catalog. Yeah.
Well, Britt Daniel, Jim Eno, and Alex Fischer, it's been so great to have you in. Best of luck for the rest of the tour, and whichever way you decide to bring out the next album, we look forward to it.
All right.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.